for your Makwaba Daily Update TV, best send and number channel issue. I'm over hit Aduman. Mobile subscribe, mobile like, mobile shama, one a pin say maybe 80 so and be 80. Messer send mobile gem near that Jenabo run sim near quitty in Sema Nede a treble 84. Kwadwo Oppong Nkrumah report to be at the bar abonten na nina ye Bawumia nsema or the bar bonten echemu se obayo mampanya eye eto anase E-Levy tax ededa enwumanwuma isoi obeyi tax no efre so enkankan E-Levy na eno na omobusa Bawumia se Bawumia na se mo implement E-Levy tax no cabinet na onka ho bia na recently anase previous mbekaya Kwadwo Oppong Nkrumah de nsemi betudwa na efa Mamudu Bawumia ho ni nyina ye kwame mofa social planning for the E-Levy omo implement ye na nyina ye Kwadwo Oppong Nkrumah ni statement na numa asema ono edeba abonten na ene na Bawumia nsemi etwagu a ekame se obia edina no etumi na ye mumdom ye nkutie nsem na ya ba de ka ho bia ye so ya ba abadom
ama no de to bebre etutu ye so yehwe Kwadwo Oppong Nkrumah ene Gideon Boako wabro mu nyina confirm say amomotuo na ene Bawumia ka kire say ya de ginger no no ba wo be ye free no yehwe omo wabro mu confirm say ampampa na Bawumia edi sa etuo na ye de abeto ye so no na odi mu akotere we ye Kwadwo de mama Gideon Boako de ententem na hu say Kwadwo mu de fake bia bobobobo ade we so but ye nyina ye nim ye Kwadwo mu kan sa abere no government appointees bound by decision to impose E-Levy. Bawumia supports its passage where ye Gideon Boako one on a kasama Dr. Mahama Bawumia. Woman you never can say Bawumia Eddie Momotuano Akotere. What the kind? And you see, by default, one on the chairman of the economic management team. It is a never be and him can say, Waba, Wabetra Momotuanima. And I say what to me no. I didn't think I wouldn't come. Yet John Boadu. Wabra no so can Bawumia ma tie no
said the talk tax buyer you can once but who say it so the revenue buyer and the support to youth employment where the major reason any rose the chunk of this money will go into road construction. Now with time you say you better say now as time goes on specifically I can say that levy IG sa road way and yama obia ebehu mama em say oni Bawumia di nkomo bi na as a akova say Bawumia akoka say ono de onya ya kwame utie conversation na o say ube levy momo obia otua 5 cities. He was very specific on it. And no on support any on Obia Okocha 5 cities and 50 cities. And no. And he's chairman of the economic management team. Even you discussing at the retreat. You form another small committee suggesting say they are banning and or chairs our committee. Adiana Yedeba, it is still inconsistent with the Bawumia kind say. Obia.
You mean Dr. Mahama Bawumia?
Dr. Bawumia.
Vice President.
Vice President of the Republic of Ghana. It's still consistent with your kind. At some of kind, on sister and I know, Aban Koya Adiebi and Fengun in Masi. Say, wow, who transfer Sika? A year below 100 cities a day, no? You enjoy 1.75.
Edema NPP amanyoko no otikokuro ko na nan wo ka che Kwame Sevakai said Dr. Mahama Bawumia, the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana. No odi momotuo ya ye dia be pa ya pampami wodi mo akotere na wotie nkyerɛkyerɛ mu na sika no dodo na ye de be ya akwan no wai wotie John Boadu nkyerɛkyerɛ mu na wose sika no dodo na ye de be ya akwan ene ye buso mu nyina including Mahama Bawumia John Boadu am ye hunu se na wodi momotuo ya ye dia be pa ya pampami akotene no ye busa de se akwan no ewai front na da na yo yentie Bawumia waka se wono a principled leader Sigina ya. We still want to credible, you know.
We a leader, not only principles. Everything I overcome just for votes. Then on Yentimin Judy. Yentimin Judy, because of votes now, oh yeah, we mean it. We a leader, not only principles. Everything I overcome just for votes. Then on Yentimin Judy. Yentimin Judy, because of votes now, oh yeah, we mean it.
They are now because of Obeyi, Momo 12 everywhere. Don't you think you are saying this because Obasi at Abama? Because I be who to me, you know. Because I will be bet to one everywhere. Wabra one I chairman of the economic management team. I dear be a fire economy no decision, you make a witty one country. Said your John Boyd, I'm here to say. Then Obey him can say, what about Obey everywhere? And yet Bobby I will share just for votes. It's a principle now. What can one some way Bawumia and Yabusau? Principle no say ye siege na ye won no credit kwaso. We a leader, yan share boss say we share bob because we per say ye to abamount. And so many videos here mabubo ache wo nyina. Foto to asem ya Bawumia, video ya mabosi say, foto to asem ya won kan ye ho. No ye nyina ye ni ya won no kre. Ye ndi no kre. Afai ye tie Bawumia. Yo ka fa kwan ho. Tie we.
Some months ago, we don't have to borrow money from anywhere. Just toll the various sections of the road and we'll raise the money to do the roads in Ghana. It doesn't mean we will not borrow money. It only means that we are going to borrow responsibly and not recklessly. No government can say they won't borrow money. That is ridiculous. So far, the commitments that we received in China before leaving amounted to a total of $15 billion US. And there's a possibility that within the next month or so, there are some discussions that we couldn't conclude, that another $4 billion will be added to that. But this is by way of grant funding. As you can see, all the discussions we've had in China have to do with getting a new funding model, not borrowing, but leveraging our resources to do so.
If you look at this country, the money is there for development, but it stays up, it doesn't come down. The money is there, but it stays up, it doesn't come down. We are going to make sure we bring in a new economic model and make sure the money will come down to our villages for everybody to get that care.
My friend po me de road dia na best see asa wuti ensem ya wo keke nyina video ya ya che nyina titi last one no was abre no se sika no wo soro ho yenim kwan ya ye betima fa so na ye de sika sem kwan foforo so aba sa de be ya sika no e be sane afiri soro ho na aba fom na Ghana fo nyina anya bi ene sika no wai sika na wo soro ho no on se da so wo soro ho eno an ye de han wie mu shen ebra ne ye han wie mu shen na Bawumia wa se de sika ne nam soro tabra na sika no ene nam soro na edi akoniaba e wa dupla e ye luxurious private jet mu eti sika na Bawumia ka se wo be fa sika sam nyansakwa so asane amena firi soro amena ba fom amena so ye nyina ye so wo puntu anwuma yokwa so no e wai ye bisa afa ye tie Bawumia na wo ka se de yakwan no what the ye be call level foforo kra what you say what ye be call level foforo level la ye hunu so bi da they said ye mfa yi quota no ye call concrete na woni ba bi o ka asem no sorry fie I saw them no ka asem no yi chiro mo.
Some months ago, I heard that Bishop
Etiefo ohwe Mahama Bawumia insem ya odi tudwa. In the first place, me question me busa Bawumia ne say, was he not part of the cabinet when they were imposing the E-Levy tax on Ghanaians? Cabinet no one can one as no one team. Now what was their decisions? Because you are the head of economic Inti ye busa Bawumia say no the lies are more the Maganians no adoso. It's in a year adoso. Therefore, yentua in semiso.
That Hayward Mills talk about building. He made similar comments here. Yes, these 2 roads to Accra, Kumasi, we haven't been able to build. And he made a very, very insightful comment about why is it that we are not building our roads with concrete and rather doing all this asphalt bitumen stuff, which the roads get washed away after 2 seasons. You look at the Mamoto Way, which was built with concrete, and it is lasting almost 50 years. And so that sort of got me thinking, and we started that discussion. It's a simple idea, but it's full of wisdom. I checked, and I realized that even in India, since 2014 in India, they have a policy to only build concrete roads because it works out much cheaper. So I said, well, let me bring this to my bosses, and we have been discussing this as recently as last week in Parliament. And Bishop Dag, I'll let you into it. Cabinet did decide last week that we should move towards concrete roads as a country.
It is our last week, you know. What do you call baby? As our last week, you know. Sa besi sa brena. When you are so Ghana for Bekasa. What we do a contact say concrete road no maye bi wo ha, and a maye bi wo ha, and a maye bi wo ha. Hey, Bawumia yo. Principled man, 1 year. Principled man now was say, obi a 1 year principle. And was she bossa because we pay to me. It is our last week now, Wajina Bishop Dag Hayward Mills and Nim on the Asoma. Prince, Master yo, Lighthouse. Gina Lighthouse. He said, I saw you from the Kodesh. Oh, Gina saw man named Gina Yamifie. Sata defita. And then this says, say, cabinet at Tenase. Na cabinet now will say, ya yenti no. And what do you put with Tenase? Eddie Komoko Ben Grum. Cabinet at Tenase. Esi Gina say, he said, ye babe, tra concrete, quine. Quine na ye be carrying na ye the concrete na be ye. Bawumia on says say omo ye jandam ma mu nyina no. On says say omo hunu moto. Omo ye jandam ma mu bra mo ba 2016 ye ko 2016 about to him no. Omo nyina come ho asem. Especially me nua ayi. Jandam hene, tie no.
In 2015, the current vice president of the Republic, our poster boy, the poster boy, onka who, onka se, papa, a memoir no nim sebukuna, no wonder so called Zimbabwe, wamopamo no. The current vice president, Dr. Mahama Bawumia, one nima memoir want to, Chesabukuna sen wo really chiraye, Nanokran me casto a secret be actionable. When they said you know be ready chire nya nyon wana natural. Hey, tie. Me said you not Dr. Bawumia be ready chire years or year lectures or year this. I tell you on authority say nya Dr. Bawumia na natural da. Enipa no otworo sa eye Dr. Bawumia e speech ya obe ready my me kwafri faminim say nipa ne pa na me kodi nkomo me said nya Dr. Bawumia but yanko eye Joy FM 2015 Dr. Mahama Bawumia na wase John Dramani Mahama akọ IMF won chibida enti wo mo keno abale famiko.
When you are hiring them and they tell you they can swim and then you get them in the water and they cannot swim, you better criticize them. You will have to criticize them because they said they would swim, but they are drowning all of us in debt and taxes. You know, and that is they said they could swim, but we found out to our detriment that they can't.
I already see. Well, when you are employing them and they say they can swim, and when you find out they cannot swim, you better criticize them because they are drowning us in debt. They are drowning us in debt. At that time, not your Mahama Bobosia almost bear 80 billion Ghana cedi. Yes, and TB. Yes, you will be there. Yes, your Mahama, your Mahama, you're incompetent. A Kawano Kwesilo, who said Kawanokwa, and Kajomama and Kwakan and Kyosu was sitting. Your Mahama Nima Memo, and no ye Canada Pa, Kaja for you, Canada Pa, Central Market for you, Canada Pa, but to Kraba for Chajoma. Not Bawumia to joy of him. I can profit say when the and then you ever be doing come on. Yanko Niansha Dr. Bawumia our outlining economic management team.
Akaminya kamomo sa side one. Baby ana Bawumia outlining economic management team. Piako mami. Ana ento ye boss. Esa papa no bete so. Almost ye hunu papa no mobo. But you see, ni nyina na wie ye ade ba akon. Ye ne Bawumia ya adwen, ade ba akon ye ne ya adwen. E wo ne nsem dodo a waka kire ye nyina. E ye de okan ye bra ye koto aba in 2016. Bueno, na fe santo, fami tu ase ye nko.
Teachers are suffering. Teacher trainees are suffering. Nurses are suffering. And nursing trainees are suffering. Patients are suffering. Students are suffering. Traders are suffering. Pensioners are suffering. Drivers are suffering. Contractors are suffering. Civil servants are suffering. And farmers are suffering. Fishermen are suffering. And industries are suffering. Artisans are suffering. And kayaye are suffering. The disabled are suffering. And men are suffering. Women are suffering. And children and Ghanaians as a whole are suffering.
Man, ya maya. Ayo, ya ni wom. E paso biaba adwabo na sibi. Na asambia wo bia mu oka. Na man ye. Kunsum. Yemfa mu mai. Ko trobodo, yemfa mu mai. Mosempa.
Joy FM. What you do, mo? Say your mama must solve them so. So be kaya wo Hello FM. Onabo say chairman sabozu. E go kaya say your mama mo e na solve them so. Eti dia ne e si ya na anu ya no ne ye kasa wo UPS. Wo be ka say wo mum e na solve them so. It is for us to think about it. Yet here His Excellency John Dramani Mahama anu oka esi sudua esi ni pi say na penso anamo wo 2 year.
When we left office, we gave you 2 new oil fields. All the work that we did as NDC was with 1 oil field, the Jubilee field. We worked and brought the 10 field and the Sankofa field into production. And so it made oil revenues triple. When we left office, we had solved Dumso. We bought enough generation. We established ESLA to pay the legacy debt. Today, Dumso is back. You can't pay the independent producers. And all of you know Dumso is back, just that they don't want to announce a timetable. Yesterday when I came to Tamale, the lights were off the whole day. And so, this thing they keep saying, Mahama left a mess. We came and repaired your mess. Before I left office, the IMF said that Ghana's economy was going to grow by 8%. And it grew by 8% and more in 2017. And in 2018, it dropped when their own policies started kicking in.
Ramase Samoje Bro Daily Update TV. E best a comment section on believe comment ho. Send any time bia so be jemre I reply my notification bell. Click so she drop any news bia on so answer and be can be Edamase.